You know, rapid English, no cap. Yeah, rapid English, no cap. Listen, learn, and you'll speak ASAP with rapid English, no cap.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Rapid English No Cap, the podcast where you improve your English by listening to real, natural, everyday conversations. I'm Lily.
And I'm Alex. So glad you're here with us today.
If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been listening for a while, you already know how this works. We talk, you listen, you learn. It's really that simple.
Okay, Lily, today's topic. I've been looking forward to this one all week.
Same. Today we're talking about first dates in America, dating culture, who pays the bill, conversation topics to avoid, how to read signals, and the common phrases that come up on a first date.
Real phrases, stuff people actually say, not just what you'd find in a textbook. And something special is happening in the middle of today's episode.
Yes, somewhere in the middle of the show, we have our textbook versus no cap segment, a quick tip comparing textbook English to what native speakers actually say. Fast, fun, and super useful.
Make sure you stick around for that. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, Alex, let's start at the very beginning. Dating culture in America. How would you describe it to someone who has never experienced it?
American dating culture is pretty casual. Compared to many other countries, things start low pressure. Going on a date doesn't automatically mean you're in a relationship. It's more like exploring and getting to know each other.
Right, no big commitment right away. You're just seeing if you click with the person.
Exactly. And these days, most people actually meet through apps. Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, these are huge right now.
The apps are massive. Tinder has a reputation for casual dating, while Hinge is for people who want something more serious. Their slogan is literally designed to be deleted, meaning it's built to actually help you find a real relationship.
That is genuinely brilliant marketing. But the point is, when you meet through an app, your first in-person meeting is really interesting because you've only seen photos and chatted online. And then suddenly you're sitting across from each other at a coffee shop.
One of the first things that happens is you see if the person looks like their photos. There's a very common phrase for this. You look exactly like your pictures. It's what you say when someone's photos match how they actually look in real life.
And it's actually a real compliment. Some people use very old or heavily edited photos. So you look exactly like your pictures means no surprises, no catfishing.
Catfishing is when someone pretends to be someone they're not online. All right, where do first dates usually happen?
So the most common first dates are actually pretty low-key. Coffee is super popular. Drinks at a bar, a casual dinner. You don't want to go too big or too fancy on a first date, because if the conversation isn't great,
you're stuck there for a long time.
Exactly. Coffee is genius for a first date. It's short, there's no pressure, and if you're having a great time, you can always say, want to walk around a bit and extend it naturally.
You get the easy exit, but also the easy extension. I love that. Okay, now the question everyone wants answered. Who pays on a first date?
Oh, this is probably the most debated topic in modern American dating.
So traditionally, the man would pay, but things have changed a lot. Now it's really common to split the bill. Want to split it? Means each person pays half.
And many people actually appreciate being asked. It removes that awkward dynamic where one person feels like they owe something just because the other paid.
But there's also the smooth move where someone just grabs the bill and says, I'll get this one. No big deal. No fuss. I've got it.
I'll get this one.
The rule of thumb is always be prepared to pay, or at least to offer. Don't assume the other person will cover everything. That can actually come across as a red flag.
Red flag. Let's make sure listeners understand that. A red flag is a warning sign, something someone does that makes you think this person might be problematic.
Right. That's a red flag means that behavior is a warning sign. Something might be off with this person.
And there are so many first date red flags, like being rude to the server or waiter. That's a big one.
Huge red flag. How someone treats people they don't have to be nice to, like waitstaff, tells you a lot about their character.
Absolutely. Or talking about your ex the whole time. That's another one.
Oh yeah, massive red flag. It basically means you're not over your past, which leads perfectly into conversation topics. What do you avoid on a first date?
The big 3 topics to avoid: exes, money, and politics. Exes are too personal. Money is way too early. And politics, people have really strong opinions, and you do not want your first date turning into a debate.
Right. Keep the vibe light and fun. Ask about interests, hobbies, their job, but keep it casual. You don't want it to feel like a job interview.
The job interview date. Nobody wants that. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Pass.
Hard pass. But there is one question that comes up a lot on first dates, and it's actually considered pretty normal to ask, so what are you looking for?
Oh yes, that question.
What are you looking for? It checks whether you're both on the same page. Casual? A serious relationship? Just seeing what's out there?
And in modern American dating, it's really common to ask this up front, because it's better to know early than to go on 5 more dates and then realize you want completely different things.
Exactly. Saves everyone time and feelings. Okay, how do you actually know if a first date is going well? How do you read the other person?
The biggest clue is body language. Are they leaning in when you talk, maintaining eye contact, actually laughing, not just politely smiling, but genuinely laughing?
Right. And is the conversation flowing naturally, or does it feel like hard work?
If it feels like pulling teeth, meaning really difficult and slow, that's not a great sign. But if you're both laughing and an hour feels like 10 minutes,
There was definitely a vibe. There was definitely a vibe means there was chemistry, that magnetic feeling where everything just clicks.
a vibe is hard to define, but you know it when you feel it. The conversation is effortless, you're interested in everything they say, there's maybe a little nervous energy in a good way.
And then the date ends, and you go home replaying every moment. Why did I say that? Did they like me? Why did they pause before answering?
The post-date spiral. And your best friend will call you and say, "Stop, don't overthink it."
Don't overthink it. That means stop analyzing every tiny detail and just relax. You can't control how someone else feels.
Exactly. Just let things happen naturally. And then there's the post-date text, which can honestly be more nerve-wracking than the date itself.
The post-date text is so important. One of the most classic moves is texting the person, "Did you get home safe?"
Did you get home safe? Is simple, caring, and shows you're thinking about the person after the date. It's also a great conversation opener.
You can't really just reply yes and leave it there. It naturally leads to more conversation. The perfect response is, "Yeah, just got in. I had a really good time tonight."
"I had a really good time tonight" is almost always a signal that the person wants to see you again. It's a warm, positive ending that opens the door to a second date.
We should do this again sometime, which is about as clear a green light as you can get. It means, I want to see you again.
"We should do this again sometime" is genuine interest, not just politeness. Together with "I had a really good time tonight," those 2 phrases basically mean the date was a success.
The perfect little package. Okay, I think this is actually a great moment to take our quick break for the textbook versus no cap segment. Let's do it.
Let's go. All right, it's time for textbook versus no cap.
where we show you the difference between what your grammar book teaches and what native English speakers actually say.
Today's tip is about whom versus who. Your textbook will tell you that whom is the grammatically correct form when it's the object of a sentence. So the textbook says, whom did you go on a date with is correct. Who did you go on a date with is technically wrong.
Technically true, but here is the no-cap reality. Almost nobody uses whom in everyday conversation. Like if you walk up to your American friend and say, "Whom did you text last night?" They will look at you like you just stepped out of a Shakespeare play.
Exactly. It sounds stiff and overly formal. Real people always say, "Who did you text?" and "Who are you going on a date with?" every single time. Whom is almost never used in spoken conversation.
So, our advice, in everyday speaking, just use who. You will sound natural, you will sound fluent, and nobody will correct you. That is the no-cap truth.
Love it. All right, back to the first date. Alex, what does your ideal first date look like?
Okay, so my ideal first date, you meet somewhere casual, like a nice coffee shop or a cozy bar. You sit down, get past the small talk quickly, and get into a real conversation, laughing, finding common interests. An hour and a half passes, and it felt like 15 minutes. The bill comes, you say, "I'll get this one." They smile, and you both walk outside glowing.
Glowing. And then later that night, you get the text, "Did you get home safe?" And you reply, "Yeah, I had a really good time tonight." And they say, "We should do this again sometime."
And then you're already planning the second date before the week is over.
That is the dream, but let's be real, not every first date goes that smoothly.
Definitely not. Sometimes you show up and within 5 minutes you just know this isn't going anywhere. And that's completely okay.
A bad date isn't the end of the world. Every date teaches you something. And if it was really bad, at least you have a great story to tell your friends.
Exactly. Every bad date is future entertainment. And most importantly, don't overthink it. Win or lose, just enjoy the experience.
So, what are you looking for? Asking about intentions. You look exactly like your pictures. A compliment in online dating. I'll get this one. Offering to pay.
Want to split it? There was definitely a vibe. That's a red flag.
Did you get home safe? A caring text after the date. I had a really good time tonight. A sign of genuine interest. We should do this again sometime. A clear green light. And don't overthink it. Relax and stop overanalyzing.
10 phrases, all completely natural. All things you will actually hear from real people in real life. Write them down, say them out loud, practice them.
All right, everyone. That is a wrap on today's episode of Rapid English No Cap. Thank you so much for listening. It really means a lot to us.
We hope this episode gave you real, useful vocabulary and some insight into American dating culture. You've got this. And remember, don't overthink it.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit that subscribe button and give us a like. It helps us reach more English learners all around the world.
Every single like and subscribe really does make a difference. So thank you from both of us.
We will see you in the next episode. Until then, keep listening, keep practicing, and keep it no cap.
Yeah,
Bye.
Rapid English
Take
no
care,
cap.
everyone. See you
Listen,
next time.
Learn and you'll speak ASAP with Rapid English no cap.